Today I want to talk about the 401k a little bit. What's crazy is most people have a 401k, but most people don't even know what a 401k is. They know 401 and then okay. They know that the company matches part, if not all, their contributions, and that's about it. So the 401k is a QRP, Qualified Retirement Plan. What does that mean? That means you qualify to move some of your money to future tax rates. So today, let's say you're in the 32% tax bracket and you put the max, $25,000 roughly, into your 401k. You're basically in an agreement with the IRS saying that, hey, I don't want to pay 32% taxes. I want to pay whatever the rate is when I retire. Let's just say, for example, taxes are supposed to double by 2035 to keep the U.S. government solvent, to keep Social Security, Medicare, and all that stuff working and available for you. And let's say you did a pretty poor job of saving. So now you're in the 24% bracket. That's not bad. But if it's 2035 and taxes double, we're talking 48% taxes. 16% more taxes. You were supposed to pay 32 and you ended up paying 48. Why is that? Because you qualified the money to not pay taxes now, but to pay in the future. That's the 401k in a nutshell. So for all the scholars that want to know exactly where a 401k came from, the history, here we go. So the 401k we know about today came about because of the Revenue Act of 1978. That act basically said that your 401k could be taken as deferred comp. It means your income can be deferred. So if you're 32 years old and you take $10,000 a year and you defer that compensation until you're 59 and a half, as young as you can be to take that 401k, you're waiting 28 years to take that money so you don't have to pay taxes today. You can defer the taxes till later. So in 1980, the father of the 401k, Ted Benna, was the first person to implement the 401k. By 1981, over half of large companies were implementing the 401k. And so in 1984, the Deficit Reduction Act came into play. What that basically did is it made it to where the poor people, the ones that made less money, could use the 401k. And then the Tax Reform Act of 1986 basically put guidelines in the 401k, saying you can only put so much in per year and who can qualify to put into this. And then in 2006, the granddaddy of them all, honestly, one of my favorite accounts, the Roth 401k came into play. The only negative was the Roth 401k, if you got a match from your company, whenever you did receive that match, it was in a tax-deferred account. So you put in post-tax money to grow your Roth, but they would contribute their match to a traditional 401k, meaning everything you put into it grew tax-free, but everything that was matched grew taxable. But because of the Inflation Reduction Act, now any contributions made by your employer can also be tax-free. So they can put in post-tax money into your retirement account and all of your money can grow tax-free. So real quick, let's go over the pros of 401k. One pro is that you can lower your tax bracket. So let's say today you're in the 32% tax bracket and you can put away $22,000 a year. If that $22,000 you put in your 401k does drop you down a tax bracket, that's fantastic. You saved 8% in taxes. Then it makes sense. Even if you have to overfund a little bit above the match to get down to the 24% bracket, it makes sense. But honestly, besides that, taking the match and running is your best bet. Most of the reason why we say take the match is because if you can get as a single person $300,000 in your 401k and then you take income from that in retirement, you're going to get roughly about $12,500 a year from that account. Well, your standard deduction as of today is about $12,500. So that means if the only qualified money or taxable money you're getting in retirement is the $12,500 from your 401k, technically you don't have to pay taxes on it. It's really the only time that you can put money away pre-tax and take it pre-tax. And really, if you want to get to the 0% tax bracket whenever you do retire, that's all you should have in qualified plans. And like I said, taking the match is really important. Why? Because if you can put in 4% and get a 4% match, that's 100% ROI overnight. You would be dumb not to take that. Now, I do talk about fees a lot, and we're going to cover that in a second. The average 401k fee is 2.2%, which means if you average 7%, you're only taking home 4.8% because the 2.2% fee. And that takes me to a whole different thing, which is average versus actual returns. So if you log into your 401k portal, you might see an average of 8% return, which is great. But the difference between average and actual return is huge. So let's say you lost 50% in your account. 2008 hits, you went from $100,000 to $50,000 in your account. It's a 50% loss. So if you were to gain 50% back the next year, you would be at $75,000 because 50% of 50 is 25. So now you're at $75,000. You lost 25%. But if you go to your average rate of return, it's 0. So your advisor can say, hey, you're doing good. Last year, everyone lost their rear. This year, you got it back. So you're good. You broke even. But technically, if you look at the balance, you are down 25%. Actual rate of return is going to be your net rate of return. So let's say you lost 50% and you gained 50% this year. Your actual rate of return over 2 years is negative 25%. So you should always know your actual rate of return. As far as the cons go, we're talking about fees, we're talking about the 59.5 rule, we're talking about the 4% rule, and that's just 3 things. We're going to touch on those 3 things and that's it. So let's talk about the fees. The average fee to manage a 401k all in is about 2.2%. That's on smartasset.com if you want to go check it out and vet it. Meaning, once again, on average, if you've earned 7%, but the fees are 2.2%, and we talk about average, average versus actual now, you averaged 4.8%. Not good. The 59.5 rule, what does that mean? That means if you put into a qualified retirement plan, such as a 403b, a TSP, a 457b, 401k, any of that IRA, SEP IRA, you technically can't touch that money until you turn 60. Now, there are a couple caveats with TSPs and 457s where you can retire a little early with no fees. But for the most part, if you touch any of that money, withdraw it before the age of 60, you get a 10% penalty. So if you've ever had a 401k that you cashed out from an old company and you got taxed like crazy and you're like, what happened? You got hit with the highest marginal tax bracket and you got hit with a 10% fee. So that means you got hit with a 37% tax, you got hit with all the other tax, and that's just federal, and then your 10% fee. So most likely if you cash out a $100,000 401k and $50,000 hit your account, that is why. Now, another thing is a Roth 401k or a Roth IRA, although they are tax-free, there are no required minimum distributions, you still have to abide by the 59.5 rule, meaning if you take any money out of that account above the principal, meaning anything that you put in, you could take out, but any growth that you take out, there's a 10% penalty. So utilizing accounts like cash value life insurance and such, even if it's real estate investing, you want as much tax-free growth as possible. And then the granddaddy of them all, the 4% rule. Dave Ramsey doesn't believe in the 4% rule because he has the mythical 12% mutual fund. And a little disclaimer, the new 4% rule is actually supposed to be about 3.1%. So what is the 4% rule? It's the Trinity study. Basically, Trinity College came up with a study saying that if you take 4% of your balance per year, you won't run out of money before you die. Why do they say that? If you take 4%, and they're charging you the 2.2%, and somehow you can average 6.5% safely over the next 25 years, you can take 4% per year for 25 years and deplete your account. If you have $1 million, you can expect to take about $40,000 a year. If you have $500,000, you can expect to take $20,000. The average 401k is $167,000. That's less than $1,000 a month of taxable income. So we went over the 401k, what it is, who created it. We've talked about the pros and we've talked about the cons. Now, if you want to know about alternatives and how you can maximize your retirement, book an appointment, see one of my advisors. Viking Financial is the marketing arm of Spectrum Planning Group. Within Spectrum Planning Group, we have CEPAs, Certified Exit Planning Strategists. We have fiduciaries, meaning it is an advisor that has to legally do what is best for you. We have multiple CPAs. We also have a crypto CPA on staff. We have a JDLLM. A JDLLM is a tax lawyer that is actively practicing. We do mergers and acquisitions, financial planning, business planning, literally everything. And now for the plug. If you got any value out of this, please like, share, comment, all that good stuff. The reason why we say that, I know it's cliche, because if you like this, the algorithm is going to say, okay, his community likes this, let's push it out to more people. That helps us. We grow. If we grow, we can pay for more of these podcasts. If you comment, most likely you're that kid in the back of the class that's like, I don't want to raise my hand because I'm afraid to ask this dumb question. But if you comment or ask a question in the comments, someone watching this might say, oh, that's the question I had, and oh, he got it answered. So when you comment, you're actually helping other followers and listeners. And share. If the algorithm doesn't pick us up, but you still share this to people that you know, it's going to help us. Once again, I'm Dustin Wiley with Viking Financial, where we give you all the facts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. As always, be safe. Signing off.